10 Ways to Become Super Rich in Africa. The economy in Africa had changed. After the natural resources, it's the booming of the middle class and the numerical revolution that are boosting the continent. 50% of countries with the highest economic growth in the world are African countries. In the short term, investors that are ignoring Africa are losing big in the long term. The latest report on Africa Wealth by New World Wealth shows that there are a bit more than 160k millionaires in Africa. From 2000 to 2014, the number of millionaires in Africa grew by 145%, when compared to the world economic growth, which was 73%. 1. Solar energy. Solar energy is one of the most abundant natural resources in Africa. Most parts of sub-Saharan Africa enjoy more than 300 days of free sunshine given by God each year. Yet more than 600 million people on the continent, especially in rural areas, do not have access to reliable electricity. In most cities, power outages are a daily occurrence and people often rely on gasoline or diesel engines. Solar energy is free, absolutely clean, and plentiful. And it offers the best alternative for people in remote areas of Africa that are out of reach of power grids. 2. Agro business. Agro business is the untapped gold mine of Africa and a major potential source of millionaires in 2016. According to a report by the World Bank, Africa's food industry is worth $1 billion in 2030. With more than 60% of the world's uncultivated area of fertile land, abundant labor, and all-year sunshine, sub-Saharan Africa certainly has the potential to become the largest exporter of food products. Yet each year, African countries import more than 70% of the wheat consumed, more than 300,000 tons of chicken, and spend more than $10 billion on imported cereals, especially rice. With the impact of the crude oil price crash in 2016, food industry giants such as Nigeria and Angola are finally putting a strong focus on agro-business as a means of diversifying their economies. This means that governments in these countries are now more open and supportive of agro-business initiatives. 3. Smartphone business. Guess what? Smartphones have been sold at an average price of $130 and it has been sold as bread. Africa is currently the second fastest growing market for mobile phones, after Asia. However, the first wave of the mobile phone revolution in Africa is almost over. Africans are looking to throw away the first-generation phone for smartphones. So, it's no surprise that the growth of technology and fashion now has a multi-billion-dollar market size for smartphones. The cost of most phones like iPhone, BlackBerry, and Samsung are high for the average African. This has created an opportunity for phones at a lower price. Most of the new cheap phones are built based on Android OS and have similar features as other high-end smartphones combined with elegant design. 4. Internet access. The internet market in Africa is worth several $billion. No wonder that technology giants like Google and Facebook are fighting to improve internet access for millions of Africans. Google's Project Loon and Facebook's Free Basics are just two of the many bold initiatives to connect Africa. 5. Education. With one of the youngest populations in the world, more than 50% of Africans are under 31. The continent is rich in creative and innovative talents. However, lack of access to quality education is a serious threat to Africa's human capital. Smart entrepreneurs have started to invest in and find ways to improve and provide education at a cheaper cost. For example, Bridge Academies in Kenya and East Africa and the Omega schools in Ghana and West Africa have built an incredible education model of low-cost primary schools that allow students to pay less than $1 per day for tuition fees. 6. African art. You will be surprised when trying to guess how much African art is worth these days. In November 2014, a collection of ancient African art from Mali, Gabon, Congo, and Liberia was sold to New York at Sotheby's for a record price of $41 million. This is the biggest amount ever realized from the sale of African art in the United States. Not too long ago, a set of wooden sculptures by the Nigerian artist Ben Nwanwu sold in London for over $500,000, 3 times the expected price. New World Map, the sculpture of El Anachoy, the Ghanaian artist, sold for about $767,000 in aluminum and copper, one of the highest awards ever awarded by the work of an indigenous African artist. In coming years, more collectors and investors will be paying close attention to African art and millionaires will come from the process. 7. Application and online service. There is a digital revolution in Africa. These days, many services now have their mobile application. Africa's digital economy is growing very rapidly. For example, in the hospitality industry in Nigeria, hostels and Jovago.com are now the biggest online services in the hotel booking area. Recently, hotels NG attracted $1.2 million as an investment. Another example is Irik TV, which enables people to watch African movies on smartphones. It served more than 5K African movies on smartphones. They had lately attracted $19 million as an investment to extend their service in all African countries. In the coming years, more valuable mobile applications will be created to provide services and ease the lives of Africans. 8. Fintech, payment solution. Each year in Africa, more than $100 billion of transactions are made in cash. This poses a huge and lucrative financial services opportunity for entrepreneurs. Since M-Pesa was introduced in East Africa, mobile money transfer and payment service has been phenomenal in Kenya and Tanzania, where the platform manages more than 200 million P2P transactions each year. Giant telephony and network operators are also entering the mobile payment. 9. Real estate. The real estate market in Africa is valued at multi-billion dollars, and several new millionaires will build their fortunes in this market. In almost every corner of the continent, real estate projects are emerging. The biggest attractions are high-rise hotels and office buildings, residences and apartments, and shopping centers. In Nigeria alone, there is a shortfall of 17 million housing units, with a financing requirement of $363 billion. In the capital of Angola, Luanda, the first office rents are among the highest in the world at US $150 per square meter per month. In Mozambique, property prices in ports, particularly for warehouse expats, are among the most expensive in Africa. The main real estate markets are Angola, Nigeria, Egypt, Mozambique, South Africa and Kenya. All these countries are experiencing a boom in real estate like never before in history. The large and young population of Africa, a growing middle class, growing urbanization, an influx of expats, and multinational companies are the main drivers of demand for both commercial and residential real estate. 10. Venture capitalist, investing in startups. Africa will be the only continent where trying new things will be possible. In all those areas listed previously, SMEs will emerge, and these latter will need funding from investors. By 2015 only, the amount of capital invested in African startups was about $0.5 billion. In coming years, this figure is expected to double or even triple, as young African entrepreneurs who continue to find brilliant business ideas. It is almost impossible for investors to ignore the appeal of attractive returns. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to our channel to receive our next videos.